And if you take less than 2 courses, say maybe 1 course, then you are no longer a full-time student and you should not work. You want to stay back afterwards, then try to apply for a program that is at least 8 months. If you're a spouse or a common law partner or someone that is holding a postgraduate work permit in Canada, then you're eligible for an open work permit. Please, all of these things, just make sure to follow them accordingly because it can affect your permanent residency application. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Yemisi. If you're new on the channel, welcome to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe if this video resonates with you, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for always coming back, and thank you for engaging with the content. In this particular video, I am going to be talking about postgraduate work permits, shocking truth, shocking revelation, things that you did not know before, because even me, I didn't know about it until I did this research and I found it out. So I'm going to give you guys like different tips here and there just so that you can have an overview of what postgraduate work permit is about and some of the benefits that you get if you are holding a postgraduate work permit in Canada. So a quick background story for those people that are seeing my face for the very first time. I recently graduated from the University of Saskatchewan, where I studied a 2-year master's program in public administration, and I got eligible for a postgraduate work permit. So when I finished in April and got my letter of completion, I applied immediately and my postgraduate work permit got approved for 3 years. So that is like the background story to all of this. Since I mentioned it in one of my vlogs saying I got my postgraduate work permit approved, I've been getting a lot of questions saying, can postgraduate work permit be refused? Yes, it can be refused. The reason is because if you are not eligible for a postgraduate work permit and you apply for it, it will definitely be refused. I'm going to give you guys some of those eligibility criteria in this video, so stay tuned. Also, if you exceed the work hours condition as a student, for example working for more than 20 hours during school session and working in full hours when your school is not on any scheduled break, then you would be refused. So let me quickly buttress that a little bit. In Canada, you would normally think that everybody goes on break in summer, but there are some schools that do not have a scheduled break in summer. You know, they probably do not start from May to August, you know, like other schools. Some institutions have their scheduled break from July to August. Okay, so May, June, they're still in sessions. In that May and June, if you work for more than 20 hours and believing that, you know, because other people are on scheduled break and your institution is not on scheduled break, that means that you have exceeded the number of approved hours that you should work. Okay guys, I might be sounding tired. I am filming this video for the second time and I am so stressed. I wanted to quickly shed light on all of those before I start listing all the things I have in this video. Postgraduate work permit enables international students to gain professional work experience in Canada. You do not need a job to apply for this. When you're done with your school and you've gotten your letter of completion, even if you don't have a job, you are entitled, and I don't want to use the word entitled because I know that, you know, Canada application, you don't have a right to it, you're privileged to have it, blah blah blah. So what I'm just trying to say is that you are eligible to get approved for a postgraduate work permit, and we have 3 different types of pathway to become a permanent resident in Canada. One of them is the Canadian Experience class, another one is Federal Skilled Workers Program. We have the Federal Skilled Trades Program, which is the FSTP. I wouldn't necessarily say these are the only 3 pathways to PR, because almost every day Canada brings out one pathway or the other. They just recently started the STEM job pathway, the occupational pathway, and you know, different types of pathway, but let us just focus on these 3 in this particular video. If you want to get eligible for CEC, which is the Canadian Experience class, you must have worked for 1 year in a skilled job, either NOC 0A or B, to be eligible for CEC. Also, if you come in on spousal open work permit and you've worked for 1 year on a skilled job, you are also eligible to apply for Canadian Experience class. Number 2 point that I have for you, and this one is very important, is postgraduate work permit cannot be renewed, and you can only apply for 1 postgraduate work permit in a lifetime. 8 months to 1 year program gives you 1 year postgraduate work permit. 2 or more years gives you 3 years postgraduate work permit. So even if you come to Canada and you apply to a school like an undergraduate school for 4 years, you're still eligible for 3 years postgraduate work permit. Now there is a clause: if you should apply to a school that is not a DLI and does not offer postgraduate work permit, of course you are not going to be given. So I'm going to leave in the description box a link to the IRCC website that states all the schools that are designated learning institutions and all the schools that offer postgraduate work permits. So all you need to do is go down on that page, select your province, and it gives you all the schools in your province, more like in a tabular form. It gives you schools that offers postgraduate work permits and the schools that have DLI, and it also gives you the DLI in full. That's the number. It's almost 10 digits if I'm not mistaken. So you can always extend your postgraduate work permit, but you cannot renew it. And let me explain that quickly. What it means is, if you have your passport expiring say 2024 and now we're in 2023, you finished your school in April or May and you have your letter of completion and you're entitled to a 3 years postgraduate work permit, you can apply for your postgraduate work permit. And even though they give you till 2024, because that's when your passport expires, there's going to be a clause on that letter saying the reason for the expiration in 2024 is because of your passport validity, and that when you renew your passport, they would extend it to the end of the eligible period. So that is it about extending. So you can always extend your postgraduate work permit, but you cannot renew it. So if you're done with your 1 or 2 years program, let's use 1 year program for instance, and you get your postgraduate work permit for 1 year, you cannot apply for any other postgraduate work permit ever. I hope that you understand what I just said, because I feel like I said a lot there. A policy came out, is it early this year, saying students who currently hold an expired PGWP that were delayed because of, you know, the COVID, the IRCC backlogs and everything, they will have the opportunity of an extension for 18 months to stay in Canada and work, and then continue applying for their permanent residence. You know, IRCC comes up with different policies every now and then. A lot of people were actually affected because of the IRCC backlogs, and a good number of them were people that studied a 1 year program that got 1 year postgraduate work permit and they got almost stranded. People wanted to even go back to their home country, but I'm glad that we have IRCC come to their aid and bring up this kind of policy. The third one on my list is, if a student completes only 7 months of studies after their study permit application is received, they are not eligible for a postgraduate work permit. Postgraduate work permit can only be issued for a program with a minimum of 8 months period. So if you are coming to Canada and you want to stay back afterwards, then try to apply for a program that is at least 8 months so that you at least get a 1 year postgraduate work permit to stay back in the country. Personally, I just feel like it helps you to stay back in the country, explore the country. So even if you initially do not want to stay back in the country, you never can tell. You can come into the country and just like everything about the country, probably the work environment, or you want to explore a career before you go back to your country. So, you know, it just gives you the opportunity to explore the Canadian work environment before you eventually go back to your home country, if that is what you want to do. To be eligible for the postgraduate work permit, you must have held full-time student status, every academic session of the program, or programs of study completed and included as part of your post-graduation work permit application. What this means is, for example, in the University of Saskatchewan, I would say that you should try to know how many courses enable you to hold a full-time status. So let me just let you know that in the University of Saskatchewan, for example, for my program, if you take 2 courses, you are already a full-time student. So 2 or more courses makes you eligible to be a full-time student. And if you take less than 2 courses, say maybe 1 course, then you are no longer a full-time student and you should not work. If you work, then you are not following the guideline or the rule of IRCC, and at the end of the day, your postgraduate work permit can be denied if they eventually realize that you did not follow the right protocol. So that's something that I want you to hold at the back of your mind, and I'm not trying to scare you. I just want you to like be aware of this so that you do not get into that period of had I known. So other requirements to be eligible for the postgraduate work permit is you must complete at least 8 months program in a DLI school. DLI is designated learning institution. You must have received a transcript and a letter of completion from the eligible DLI confirming that the applicant has met the requirements to complete the program of study. The program must have earned you a degree, a diploma, or a certificate. You must have graduated from a public post-secondary institution, a private secondary school in Quebec that operates under the same rules as public school in Quebec. So those are like the requirements. It's just point blank straightforward. For me, it's just basically you knowing that you must hold a full-time status in your school. The school must be a DLI school. The school must be offering postgraduate work permit, like they must be eligible to offer a postgraduate work permit, and you must have gotten your letter of completion to apply. You might be wondering the processing time. They will usually leave it on the website and tell you maybe 6 months to a year is the processing time, but I got my own approved within a month, which is also good. However, I'm going to go into that shortly. The fifth point on my list is you can apply to extend your postgraduate work permit before it expires if you qualify for a different type of work permit, that is open work permit or employer specific work permit. And all of these things I'm telling you, they are on the IRCC website if you want to confirm them. So what this means is that if you have a maybe 3 years postgraduate work permit right now and it is going to expire in like say maybe 6 months or 1 year down the line, and you are eligible for an employer specific work permit, or maybe your office or your company or your organization does not mind issuing you an open work permit, or you find that you're eligible for an open work permit, then you can apply to extend your study permits in order for it to be converted to that open work permit or the employer specific work permit, but you cannot renew. So there is a difference between extending and renewing. I hope that you guys understand what I mean. So the sixth one is, once you apply for a postgraduate work permit, you get an implied document giving you a validity to stay in Canada for 4 months, which is equivalent of 120 days, or till your permit is granted, whichever is earlier. So it is stated on the website. So once you apply for your postgraduate work permit, you get an implied document, more like a document the next day, confirming that you have already applied for your postgraduate work permit, and if you get any job, the employer should accept that implied document for you to be able to work, because it's more like a work permit that allows you to work in the interim while your postgraduate work permit is being processed and approved eventually. So what that means is that I'm no longer going to school, I need a work permit. Once I apply for the postgraduate work permit, the next day, within 24 hours, you get an implied document. So that implied document is usually stated there that you are eligible to work for 4 months or until the study permit is granted, so whichever one comes earlier. So if it is the work permit that is granted like say 1 month into your application, then the implied document becomes invalid because you already have your postgraduate work permit. But if your postgraduate work permit does not come until 4 months or even longer, then your implied document is still valid until you get your postgraduate work permit. That's a lot of information. I hope that I'm not giving you some sort of information overload. I hope that you understand what I am saying. This next point is very long, but just work with me, stay with me. Your study permit becomes invalid 90 days after the end of your study program. Personally, I'll tell you not to wait till your study permit expires, and I hope by now we understand the difference between a study visa and a study permit. Study visa enables you to travel into Canada to study. Study permit is the one that makes you remain in Canada. So that is why when you get to Canada border, they usually issue you a study permit, because that study visa does not give you the right to stay within Canada. It only helps you to come into the country. The study permit enables you to remain in Canada. So once you're done with your study permit becomes invalid 90 days after the end of your program. So if you finished school in April, for example, then you have 90 days, which is like 3 months, for your study permit to still be valid. Afterwards, it becomes invalid. Within that time, and like I said, I didn't even wait. I finished April and I applied immediately, because why should I wait? But yeah, this is just, an information for you. So you must apply for a postgraduate work permit within 6 days of obtaining proof that you have met the requirements for completing your program of study. Again, why should you wait for this? When I got my letter of completion in April, or is it first week in May, I applied immediately, because why am I waiting? But of course, on the IRCC website, it says that you can still apply for postgraduate work permit within 180 days of getting your letter of completion. If your study permit becomes invalid or expires before you apply for a postgraduate work permit, you are not eligible to work without a permit. You guys, please, all of these things, just make sure to follow them accordingly, because it can affect your permanent residency application. So what this means is that once your study permit expires before you apply for your postgraduate work permit, you cannot work, because there is no permit that is allowing you or giving you that right to work. Keep that in mind. And personally, I'll tell you that once you realize that your program ends in April and your study permit ends in, say, February or January or March, that is before the end of your program. The reason might be because your passport was going to expire maybe in January or February, and so they give you the study permit till the end of February, but your program ends in April. You must have applied for an extension of your study permit, and I have a video on that. You can watch how to extend your study permit. So you must have applied for your study permit such that it does not expire before you finish your program, because if it does, then you cannot work until you get your postgraduate work permit. You guys, you know that in Canada right now it's already expensive. Even if you work, like, it's expensive living here as a student, as an international student, as a worker in some other cases, because if you're not really earning much, if you have restriction on your hours, then of course, like, there's so much you can buy. Now imagine if your study permit expires and you cannot even work to purchase or to afford an average lifestyle. My dear, you don't want to be in that shoe, so please take note and take heed. Yeah, okay, so the next one is you can leave Canada and apply for a postgraduate work permit overseas. Once you realize that you are not eligible to work without a permit, you can actually leave Canada and you apply for a postgraduate work permit from abroad, from your home country. Because I mean, if your study permit expires, there's no reason why you should still be in the country. That is you staying on an invalid status, staying illegally. So once your study permit expires, it's the only thing that gives you the right to remain in Canada. So you have to leave and then try to apply for a postgraduate work permit from your home country. And trust me, you want to avoid all of this. So you can also apply to restore your status as a student by applying for a postgraduate work permit with $255 and then paying the fees to restore your status as a student with $350. So that's about $600 in total, $605. So if your status as a student has expired, for example the study permit that I mentioned, in order for you to restore your status as a student, you need to apply for your postgraduate work permit and they will charge you $255. That's the standard fee for the postgraduate work permit. By the way, yes, everything in Canada costs money. Every visa application costs money. There's no free application. And then you will now pay an extra fee to restore your status as a student with $350, you guys. So please try to be careful and take note, like, make sure you know the validity period of your study visa, your study permit, your work permit if you have any, and your passport, so that you know you can stay on top of your game, like stay on top of the necessary application that you need to make so that you will be eligible to stay within the country. If you want to remain in Canada instead of applying from overseas, you must maintain your status as a visitor until you receive the actual work permit. So let me explain briefly to you. My study visa expired in March, and of course if I don't have a study visa or any visa, once I leave the country I cannot come in again. So I recently applied for a visitor visa to stay within Canada using that visitor visa. So something like that, if you realize that your study permit will be expiring soon, then you can also apply for a visitor visa to remain within the country, especially if your program is done, is completed. Then you can apply for a visitor visa to stay within the country while you now apply for a postgraduate work permit, so that you know you have like some sort of permit to work afterwards. This number 8, you guys, it's very dear to my heart because I was trying to just research or something for a friend and I found this and it's just incredible. Spouses and common law partners of postgraduate work permit holders may be eligible for a work permit under the C41 exemption. I don't know what the C41 exemption is, but you guys may be eligible for an open work permit. And why Canada is always saying may be eligible is because not everybody will be eligible. Most of the time may means you will, but of course they cannot just throw it open because some people might have some sort of, you know, exception as to why they cannot be eligible. So you may be eligible, and once you're eligible for that open work permit, you have the authorization to work in Canada for a period of at least 6 months after your spouse or common law partner's open work application is received. After 6 months of the application, you can start working on an open work permit, you guys. Whew. Also, you will be able to get employed in a high skilled occupation, NOC 0A or B. And if you go on the IRCC website, you'll see like a download, a huge download of information regarding NOC. Also, you can be physically residing or plan to reside in Canada while employed. So once you have that open work permit, you can be physically residing here, you can be in Canada while you are employed. That is actually very incredible. And I wanted to quickly talk about the fact that you can start working. So once you have a spouse here or a common law partner that has a postgraduate work permit, and you come in and you get your open work permit, after 1 year of working in a skilled occupation, you are eligible to apply for the Canadian Experience class, and it gives you extra, is it 30 points or 50 points in addition to whatever points you must have had. After, of course, you must have done your English language test, age factor, your foreign work experience in combination with your 1 year work experience here in Canada. All of those things sums up your total CRS score, and you will now be in the pool to apply for your permanent residence application. You guys, this particular one is like so amazing. If you have a spouse here in Canada or a common law partner in Canada, and the person is currently holding a postgraduate work permit and the person does not know this already, please send this video to them, okay? And if you have anyone in Canada, and even outside of Canada, anybody that is thinking of coming to Canada and they're just wondering why they should come study in Canada, what are the perks of studying in Canada, what's their life after Canada like, please send this video to them, because this video pretty much sums up everything that they are going to be eligible for, all the benefits that they are going to enjoy after they finish studying in Canada as a postgraduate work permit holder. Okay guys, I've come to the end of this video. Please don't forget to like this video because it helps the algorithm, it pushes the video more to other people, and of course we are here to help others. And don't forget to share this video to your friends, family members, your folks, your community, anyone that you think that this video will be helpful for, and subscribe to the channel to notify you whenever I drop a new video. Lastly, to those that are currently here in Canada holding a postgraduate work permit, or just have a vast knowledge of other perks, other benefits of holding a postgraduate work permit, please let us know down below in the comment section, as you're going to be helping a lot of people. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.